I am delighted to open the second webinar of the series of webinars that we started, that the EU delegation together with ICET started organizing following the publication of Horizon Europe Work Programme 26-27. Today's seminar about how to manage grant agreements is very important. It's technical, but it's at the same time very important. And it is important both for researchers and for research administrators, for both of them. So it is important for principal investigators and partners alike. Why? Because managing your grant agreement extends beyond the date on which you sign it, and the process of project management involves everybody engaged in the project. As much as the researchers might be wary of the technicalities, it is important that they understand the overarching requirements and logic of grant management, because many of the actions required can be performed only by them. As everything, as you have heard up to now, Horizon Europe project management is an interdisciplinary teamwork. So really it needs a lot of team skills to manage it properly. But of course, in order to learn first what you are expecting through the process, we will help you learn more about the grant agreement itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kostas. And now I will ask Tamara Sona, the NCP coordinator for Horizon Europe from the Department of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, Canada, to take the floor. I have to say that Tamara is also the legal and financial NCP for Canada, so her presence is really important with us today too. Please, Tamara.
Thank you, Aggie. Thank you, Kostas. Before I get started, so as I mentioned, my name is Tamara Sone, working at Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, the NCP coordinator for Canada, also the legal and financial NCP, and working in the Horizon Europe Secretariat. I'm joined here with my colleague, Joshua Atencia, and together we'll be answering your questions in the Q&A afterwards, or during the presentation that Lenka will be making shortly. But before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge that living in the Ottawa-Gatineau region, I'm on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. I wish also to recognize that we all work in different locations. Therefore, you're probably working on different Indigenous lands that have been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. The Indigenous peoples are the traditional stewards of the lands and waters where each of us are meeting today. I encourage you to take a moment to think about what territory you're on today. Thank you. Next slide. So, to continue my presentation, I would like to indicate what support the Horizon Europe Secretariat offers to Canadian participants. So in collaboration with our National Contact Point Network, we support Canadian participants by offering guidance, information, and assistance on a wide range of topics, including legal and financial aspects of the program. We also share best practices and information with European and international NCPs and connect Canadian researchers and innovators with global partners. Since association, we have done a number of events, not only with the EU delegation, with technical webinars and others, but we've also organized several matchmaking events. So if you want more information, next slide, please. Please go to our website, which is listed here. That lists all the contact information of the national contact points, and will very soon be updated with additional information about key aspects of the program. Also, we have our national contact points in Canada are listed also on that website. And if you have any questions or want to learn more about upcoming events, please sign up to the Horizon Europe Secretariat, the link down below, and write that you want to be on our mailing list. And also, if you have any questions after the webinar, please feel free to email us there. Next slide, please. So continuing on this fantastic presentation, I'm going to turn it back to Kostas to give us a bit of an overview of the Horizon Europe program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tamara, and thank you for all the excellent and extraordinary work that you are doing with your team at ICED Horizon Europe Secretariat. I will be happy to take over again, because it's important to highlight and to explain to all of you the technical and the technicalities about grant agreements, for example, but we realize that it is always very important to go back to the basics and the essentials, and we wanted and we thought it would be useful to remind to you about the 3 pillars of Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe, which spans between 2021 and 27, is structured around 3 main pillars that you can see in the slide. Pillar 1 is about excellent science. Pillar 2 is about global challenges, industrial competitiveness. And Pillar 3 is about innovative Europe. These 3 pillars of Horizon Europe are supported by a horizontal widening pillar, as we call it. This is, and I would like to remind you, the most important and the biggest multilateral framework research program, and it fosters TIRE research, addresses societal challenges, and drives market-creating innovation to boost competitiveness. Let me explain a bit more in short, and I will be brief, do not worry, a bit more about the 3 main pillars. Pillar 1, about excellent science. It focuses on strengthening scientific excellence through bottom-up research. It does it through 3 main instruments. The European Research Council, which funds frontier research. The second action and instrument is Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions, which support researcher training and mobility. And there is also the third instrument about research infrastructures, where we invest in world-class research facilities. Pillar 2 is about global challenges and industrial competitiveness. It supports collaborative, thematic research targeting policy goals with over 50% of the budget. It is organized into 6 clusters: health, culture, creativity and inclusive society, civil security for society, digital industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, and the final one is food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. The third pillar about innovative Europe is, and it aims to make Europe a leader in market-creating innovation and SME growth. It does that through 3 main instruments. It's the European Innovation Council, which supports breakthrough high-risk innovation. There is the European Innovation Ecosystems, which connects national and regional innovation actors around the EU. And the third is the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, which creates clusters and integrates business, research, and education. The horizontal pillar about widening participation and strengthening the European research area focuses on supporting EU member states in widening participation, which means reducing the research gaps and improving excellence across Europe. We want to create in Europe a level playing field for researchers in countries which are more advanced and less advanced. We want to help everybody. Europe is mostly about solidarity and cohesion. So, where it comes to Canada and the 3 pillars, very shortly. Canada is associated only to Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe. This allows Canadian researchers and organizations to participate on almost the same conditions as entities in EU member states. And that's, I repeat, it's about Pillar 2. Following the association of July 2024, this includes direct funding from the Horizon Europe program, and Canadian entities can now participate in and lead research consortia with some of the world's best research organizations to tackle global challenges together. That's for Pillar 2. For Pillar 1 and Pillar 3 of Horizon Europe, Canada is not associated, but there are still pathways of participation in these programs for Canada. For example, under Pillar 1, Canadian researchers can apply to come to work in a European group, and Canadian institutions can host European postdoctoral fellows through the Marie Sklodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowship schemes. Canadian researchers can also apply for European Research Council grants to establish a research group in Europe. And then, under Pillar 3, Canadian startups or SMEs can come and work to Europe, and they are eligible to apply for the European Innovation Council Accelerated Program. So I hope in a very brief presentation, I reminded everybody about the 3 pillars, their importance, and to focus now on Pillar 2, where Association of Canada is active since July 2024, which already produces very, very good results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kostas. Really, thank you for reminding us all what is important, what is it that we can do. I think that we speak a lot about Pillar 2 and we forget that actually we could also use the Pillar 1, right, here in Canada. So
you know, the relationship between EU and Canada is full of possibilities and opportunities.
Exactly. So it's great to be reminded of that every day. I wanted now to turn to our guests, so to listen to the presentation. But before I do that, I shared in the chat the link to the survey. We really appreciate your input. If you could take 5 minutes of your time and fill it in, so we know how to serve you better in the future, that would be really, really appreciated. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome on the stage Lenka Chwojkowa, who joins us from Prague, I suppose. She is the deputy head of the National Information Center for European Research at the Technology Center in Prague. She leads the collaboration of financial and legal NCPs across Europe and also other countries associated with Horizon Europe, because she's the one of the leaders in the Horizon Academy project. She's also an expert in the European Commission Working Group on the Model Grant Agreement. And she will talk to us today about the project management and how to manage the grant. So Lenka, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. Let me share my presentation. All can hear and see properly.
Looks great.
Yes.
Thank you very much for confirming. And let me welcome all of you here on the workshop devoted to Horizon Europe. I'm so glad there are so many of you interested in cooperation with the EU and with other participants in the Horizon Europe projects. And today we will talk about management of the project. So I hope there will be interesting information for those of you who just came here to understand the program, but having no experience yet. Also for those of you who already are preparing proposals, for those who already submitted proposal, and even for those who are maybe already implementing the Horizon Europe grants. Me, as I was introduced, I'm national contact point. I'm leader of legal and financial NCPs, and I would call myself as a senior research manager dealing with all the other financial, legal, administrative, and management issues. So I'm ready for the discussion afterwards as well. Today, we will concentrate on first roles of different partners in the project, because as we already said, there is a consortia, there is a lead partner called coordinator, and then the other partners. And then we will talk about the whole life cycle of the project, and we will discussing what happens before the start of the project and signature of the grant agreement, and what happens afterward. The phase after the signature of the grant agreement and signing of it, we will talk about the relationship with the granting authority. However, also we will talk about the relationship inside the consortia in between different partners. We have now the obligation of the coordinator and the beneficiaries. It was already introduced that there are different pillars, and now we are talking about the association of your country and pillar 2, where there could be different types of actions, which are called research and innovation action, and coordination and support actions. These are different actions that all of them we can now talk how the management of these works. So it's common for all of them, everything that we will talk later on about in my presentation. There are also different funding schemes. There is a funding scheme that is about planning actual cost and then reporting about actual cost. However, there are also schemes when you are planning the actual cost. However, as soon as the grant agreement is signed, the amount is fixed, and later during the implementation of the project, you are just reporting about activities fulfilled and implemented, and actually incurred costs are not relevant anymore. Again, all the information on the next slides will be valid for both of these schemes. In case there are some differentiations, I'll talk about it. But again, everything is applied for those all schemes. And for these actions and these funding schemes, the projects can be implemented just by one beneficiary, which is not so often. More often is that there is a consortia with more beneficiaries, and there is so-called multi-beneficiary projects. And that's what we are talking about right now. It means that there is a consortium of more partners. All the time, the first partner with the number 1, it's so-called coordinator. It's a leader of the consortia. It's a manager of the consortia, which has a close connection and link with the granting authority, which is the European Commission or its executive agencies, which means that when the grant is signed with the European Commission or mainly with its executive agencies. So here you see the role. You see that there are more partners who are called beneficiaries, and also some of the partners can have other linkages to other participants, which, for example, could be subcontractors, which is possible as well. What are the role of which partner? It's important to understand that there is the consortium. Everybody in the consortium has its role. However, the coordinator is the one that is the lead partner, lead organization. He usually comes with the idea, trying to find the other partners. So for you, it's very important when you'll find the call, also find the good coordinator, approach to the good coordinator, and be part of the broader consortia. And this coordinator is also the one who later on, when the grant is being implemented, monitors the implementation and acts as intermediary for the whole communication in between the consortia and the European Commission. Also verifies of all the completeness of the reports and information provided to the Commission, and submits all the reports and deliverables. Everything is done electronically in the portal. I'll talk about it later. So the button and the possibility to submit the button is only the right of the coordinator, and he or she does that on behalf of the whole consortia. Coordinator is also the institution who gets the money from the Commission and then distribute it to all the other partners. Beneficiaries and each partners are responsible for implementing the action. They are doing their task as planned and as described in the grant agreement. Of course, everything what all beneficiaries are doing is in line with the national law. So really often talking about accountancy and all the other stuff, it's directed by your national Canadian law. Of course, you have to keep the records and supporting documents about the work that has been done, and also about any financial reports that you have and costs that you incurred. You have to submit individual financial statements. I'll talk about it also later on the next slides. So in case, and now it's the difference for the lump sum projects, if you have a real cost grant, these are the grants that are based on actual cost incurred, you have to submit a financial report with this report about your actual cost incurred. In case it's lump sum grant, this is not happening, and you just have to report about activities that you implemented, and in case they are properly implemented, Commission will pay you the money based on the amount agreed in the grant agreement. And as a beneficiary, in case there is an audit, you have to cooperate with the auditors. What is important, and I highlighted it here, that each beneficiary is legally responsible for their own costs in reporting. That's not the role of the coordinator. So in case there is an audit coming and there are some findings, it's obligation of each beneficiary separately to be responsible for that and pay some money back if it's necessary. Usually, hopefully not, but it's not the issue and responsibility of the whole consortia. So also for you, you don't need to worry that in case there is a trouble and any other partners, if the consortia have some financial issues and troubles and have some ineligible cost, you don't need to worry that it will influence you. It won't. You are legally responsible just for your own incurred costs. On the other side, the whole consortia is responsible together for the technical implementation of the project. So all the milestones, deliverables, and all the technical parts that you promise to deliver, you have to do it together. In case there's one of the partners who cannot deliver anymore or decides not to be part of the consortia anymore and quit the job, then it's really up to the consortia decide if there is new partner coming or if the different partners will take over the job of that leaving partner. So technically, you are responsible as the group, and you all the time need to find a solution how to deliver. However, financially, each of the partners is responsible just for themselves. And now let's have a look for the whole duration of the project. There are, when we start talking what happens before the signature of the grant agreement, there are 4 milestones. First, the call for proposal is opened. It has some deadline for the submission. Then you are waiting for the evaluation summary report. And in case it's successfully evaluated, then you sign the grant agreement and the project can start. So in the first phase, of course, you have to find the correct call, correct partners, and we are not going to discuss that in details because you already discussed in the past. However, what we are going to discuss is what happens before the submission. To be able to submit the grant, you have to realize that there is everything going on through Funding and Tender Opportunities portal. That is a portal that really is very important. And first, you have to have access to this portal. How it works. First, any person, and now it's not institution, it's a person, needs to get so-called EU login. So you have to register. So if you are approached by a partner from the EU, hey, please, that would be nice to have you as a partner in our EU project, Horizon Europe. So first, the researcher has to have the EU login account, which is really fast and basic. It's basically about registering your name and email address. And it allows you to get into the portal. So it's about person. The person needs to have EU login account. Then the institution. The institution needs to be registered in the portal as well. So there has to be someone who fills in the information in the portal, the basic information about the institution, name, address, whether it's in university, non-profit, etc. And the person who does that is called self-registrant. Either it can be the researcher who was approached by the EU partner, or it could be research manager at the institution. It's really up to you. But it has to be a person who fills in the information about the institution. As soon as this information are filled, the institution gets 9-digit participant identification code. The abbreviation PIC is used very often. Then you will give to the European partner this participant identification code. The coordinator can put it into the portal, into the proposal section, and automatically all the information in the administrative parts of the proposals are pre-filled by the information that you provided about your institution. And the person who is the researcher and who will be the main contact, the PI in your Canadian institution, the partner for the coordinator, the researcher, also needs to provide his or her email to the coordinator, and the coordinator will integrate in the proposal this person with the function called participant contact, PACO. That's a nice abbreviation, but very often used. And that's everything you need to do. And then the coordinator, on behalf of all the partners, can submit the proposal. The evaluation usually takes up to 5 months. In case it's just one stage evaluation, there could be, of course, 2-stage evaluations, then it's, of course, longer. After this time, or very often even before, Commission is getting faster these days, you will get the evaluation summary report. And in case your proposal is very good, it's positive, and now the Commission says, okay, you are invited as a consortium to start the so-called grant agreement preparation process, which is the process which should come from the proposal to the signature of the grant agreement. And there is a lot going on, especially for participants who are for the first time in the project and who are signing the first grant agreement under Horizon Europe. In case it's your first grant agreement, the Commission will take the participant identification code and all the information that you pre-filled in in the proposal stage, and they trusted it at that time. But now, before the signature of the grant agreement, they would like to validate that everything that you filled in is true and correct. So you need to submit all the proof information about existence of your institution, about the legal form, etc. So that's the one thing that you have to do. It's called a validation process of the organization. The second is that you need to appoint a person, so-called legal entity appointed representative, which is a person that will replace the self-registrant. And it's somebody that you officially says it's a person who can take charge of the information that is written in the portal about our institution. It's usually research manager. It does not need to be director or rector or whatever. It's usually some senior research manager or head of some project department, etc. It's not good for a researcher to have this role. It's not necessary. It's more administrative and managerial role. Really just checking that all the information about the institution is up to date. In case there are any changes, they can change it, etc. And it's also a role that have overview of all submitted projects and proposals on behalf of the institution. At that time, parallel to this validation of institution and appointment of the leader person, Commission wants all the participants to sign the Declaration of Honor, which says that everybody is on board and they really have the intention to sign the grant agreement. What is also being checked is for all public institutions, research institutions, and higher and education institutions, there is in place gender and equality plan. It's mandatory and compulsory. I don't think it's issue in Canada, but it's a huge story in EU. So this is mandatory. And in case it's found out at this stage that you don't have gender equality plan, you cannot be part of the project. This grant agreement preparation takes 3 months maximum. So you see here in the 3 months, it's a lot that needs to be done. And apart from these technicalities, what is going on is basically that your proposal is starting to be part of the grant agreement. Grant agreement has a core part where there are legal requirements that are based on the model grant agreement. So it's something that is not negotiable. It's just done by the European Commission. And you only fill in, like when you start the project, what is the amount of money, what is the amount of pre-financing, what are the reporting periods. These are specificities in each project, but then there are many statements that are just pre-filled and defined by the Commission. The proposal itself, it's being transformed in Annex 1 of this core text of the grant agreement. And then we are coming to the signature of the grant agreement, and also there is a second agreement, and it's consortium agreement. Grant agreement defines the relationship in between the consortia and all the partners and the granting authority. Consortium agreement, which is in most of the projects, I'd say almost all of the projects, mandatory. It's about the relationship in between all the partners. It's something that Commission is not part of that agreement, but he wants this agreement to exist because the Commission really wants that consortia, they are dealing together about IPR, reporting, financing, etc. That there are no problems later on during the implementation. That's why Commission says this is mandatory, have this agreement. However, what is part of that, it's up to you. So let's go back to the signature of the grant agreement, how it's being done. You probably already realized that everything is being done in the portal. and electronically, and the same way is also for the signing of the grant agreement. We already said that there needs to be the legal entity appointed representative, the LEAR person nominated, and as soon as a person in institution has this role, then in the portal, this person nominates legal signatories and financial signatories. In the portal, only just the role of these people will be given, and legal signatories are those who can legally sign on behalf of the institution. So it's like rector, vice rector, director, or whatever, depend on your usual and institutional practices. There can be more people. So the LEAR can have the whole list of all personnel who has the right to sign on behalf of the institution. The same for the financial signatories. There can be a list of the institution, of the people who can say that all the financial statements are correct. And then for the project, for the concrete project, the role of participant contact, which is usually the researcher, the PI that is in touch with the coordinator, has to come to the portal, and from this list of legal and financial signatories has to pick one legal and one financial and connect them in the portal with his or her project, which means this is the only person who can sign. And this person has to sign the declaration of honor, which is what we already said on the previous slide. That is after you receive the evaluation information. So it's information from all the beneficiaries and partners that they agree that they are on the board and that they have the intention to sign the grant agreement. And then who signs the grant agreement? It's actually interesting. It signs the coordinator, then the European Commission, and it means after these two signatures that the grant agreements is already signed and taken into effect. All the other partners are coming to the grant agreement by signing the accession forms, which are Annex 3 for the grant agreement. So the core text is signed only by the coordinator and European Commission or its agencies, and all the other partners has to accede to the grant agreement by signing Annex 3 called accession forms. So that's the whole process, what's happening. And there is also nice implementation day prepared by the European Commission, where everything is explained in details by Commission itself. So in case it's relevant for you and you are the lucky ones who get the Horizon Europe projects and the phase of negotiation of the grant agreement is approaching, you can have a look at these videos. They're really good. They're also presentations and they're also being recorded. Now the project starts, and it's also the question when the project actually starts. The project can start either the first day of the month after the signature of the grant agreement or the fixed date in the grant agreement. It's up to you, up to decision of the consortia and up to agreement with the consortia and the European Commission. We all the time recommend the fixed date, but it's depend and it's up to the agreement in between all the parties. Project started, and all the time the project is divided into more reporting periods. Sometimes there could be just one reporting period, but more often we see more reporting periods. Usually the reporting period is 18 months, but it can also be 18 plus 24. It can be 18 plus 12 plus 12. It all depends on the requirement of the consortia and agreement with the European Commission Again, the length of the reporting periods is something that is being negotiated before the signature of the grant agreement. Especially for lump sum project, it's being very important what is the length of the reporting period. So it's something that is already heavily discussed at the proposal preparation, and then usually we see that it's accepted by the European Commission. What's happening during the life cycle of the project, during the project implementation? And now first we talk about the relationship of the consortia with the granting authority. There is continuous reporting open during the whole duration of the project. And in this continuous reporting, we just report about different information that is going continuously through the life of the project. So in case there is any publication, you upload the publication. In case there is dissemination activity, you upload the dissemination activity, etc. What is really important? You can see there are more tabs, but the most important is deliverable tab and milestone tab. So as soon as you reach any deliverable, and then in the proposal and in the grant agreement, there are due dates, then it's expected that you will deliver some of those deliverables. So at that time, you have to upload the information and the deliverable itself. The same for the milestones. So I would say that, for example, the publication and the milestones, it's not so critical to have it in the portal on time. Concerning the deliverables, it's really a due date, and the deliverable needs to be uploaded on the due date. In case you need more time, it's all the time easy to contact the project officer. So first contact the coordinator, and the coordinator can discuss with the project officer to give you more time. Then it's easy in the portal to change the due date. But all the time, Commission really wants to stick to the due dates that are in the portal. There is not only continuous reporting, but also periodic report. Periodic report, it opens all the time only after the end of reporting period. So let's assume that we say our reporting period is 18 months. So after the end of 18 months, the periodic report opens in the portal. And you have 60 days to include the technical report, which is the information about all activities that you implemented during the reporting period, plus financial statement. It's especially relevant for actual cost grants, where all the partners need to fill in all the actual cost incurred during that reporting period, so that their costs can get eligible. For lump sum grants, at this stage, you only report about tasks and activities performed, which is the basis for eligibility of the costs. So there is 60-day period for this information to be uploaded into the portal. How it works in practice, all the partners, they just put together the information, and the coordinator is the one who puts it in the portal and submits it to the Commission. Concerning the cash flow and the money, all the time you as a consortia will get some money at the start of the project. It's called pre-financing. The pre-financing is, I'd say, pretty generous. For projects with just one reporting period is 80% of the grant. For a project with 2 reporting periods, it's still 80% of the grant. So you see, it's a huge amount of money that you already have at the start of the project. And for 3 periods, it's usually 54%. This is the money that the coordinator gets on his or her account or institutional account. And then the coordinator distributes this pre-financing to all the partners. We already said, remember, that there is consortium agreement which settles the relationship in between partners. So really check in this consortia agreement when you will get the money from the coordinator. So Commission send it immediately. However, the coordinator really often in the consortium agreement says that to the other partners, the money will be sent in more installments, depending on the performance of the beneficiary. Then after each end of each reporting period, the financial statement is being submitted to the Commission. Commission agrees on that, and in 90 days, the Commission sends again to the coordinator interim payment, or at the end, a payment of the balance. Only for Commission to be sure that you will come to the end with all promised activities, Commission is saying that they'll keep 10% of the grant as a retention that will be paid after the end of the project. So during the course of the project, the interim payment can go only up to the 90% of the grant. 10% will be paid after the whole completion of the project. During the reporting periods, after the end of reporting periods, really often is going on so-called review. It's kind of technical check where the Commission assess the report, assess all the activities. Really often then they invite external experts and they are having a look if they like the progress of your project and they can give you any recommendations. In case there is something that needs to be changed in the course of the project, because of course it's research and Commission understands that not all the time everything goes as it was planned, there could be grant agreement amendments, and it happens a lot because it's research. So if something is going a different way and it needs to be somehow adapted, the consortium or the coordinator on behalf of the consortia agrees with the European Commission and they do grant agreement amendments. Concerning the financial controls, there can happen two of them. The first is at the end, after the project, as a part of the final report, and it's called Certificate on Financial Statement. And the Horizon Europe rules says that in case for you as an institution, the requested EU contribution is higher than 430,000 euros, you mandatory have to find an auditor. It's an auditor of your choice. And this auditor has to go so-called first level audit, some kind of agreed upon procedures, which is sent to the Commission. They have looked at that and they have like kind of first control about your cost. So it's only if you have higher amount in the project than 430,000 euros. But for any kind of project, you can get a financial audit when either the Commission audit unit itself or any other audit companies that have agreement with the European Commission can come to your institution, can have to have a look into your accounts and check that your costs are eligible and in line with what you reported to the European Commission. This financial audit can come anytime during the implementation of the project and up to 2 years after the payment of the balance. Here you can see concerning the reporting, there is on the funding and tender page a nice page where there is a reference document part and there are templates also for the periodic report, or even you can see below the certificate on the financial statement, etc. All the documents and templates are nicely traceable here. And again, Commission has a nice Horizon implementation day that is online being recorded. So in case you are having a proposal and you'd like to see what to expect during the implementation, you can have a look at that. We said that there is not only the relation of the consortia with European Commission, but also there is relation between all the partners in the consortia. So what's going on there? There is internal consortium communication. It can be different in each project, but mostly we see that there is a kickoff meeting at the start of the project. Very often, I would say it's on-site meeting, and it's very important because there is very often the meeting where person in person, many of the researchers see themselves for the first time. So it's very important. Very often also the commission is there, so it's nice to have and start the cooperation with your project officer. Then most of the consortia, they have the first deliverable called Project Management Handbook. Then they settle all the information that is not part of the consortium agreement, but still very important, like what is the quality process for checking the deliverables, what are the different contact lists, etc. So really how it works inside the consortia. So it's very often the deliverable number 1. So it's also important and handy to have a look at that or be part of negotiating this one. And then there are different consortium meetings, general assembly meetings, on advisory board meeting. We see that usually general assembly, which is a meeting of a representative of each partner, usually take place once a year. It's very often getting online, the first one at the kickoff meeting and then online and then at the end. But it really depends. Very often it's once a year. Some projects, they have advisory boards, so they have meetings with the advisory board. Not all projects have them, but it's very common. And then there are regular meetings. It really depends on the agreement between partners, but we really often see that there are work package leaders, which also can be a role of your institution. Canadian partner can nicely be a work package leader or task leader. So we really often see that, for example, the work package leader have regular online meetings each month. The task leader, again, they can have meetings more often, and then there are different meetings depending on the role of the project of different partners. But it's very important. We very often see a requirement for internal reporting. We already said that you do the reporting basically towards the European Commission after the end of reporting period, which is, let's say, 18 months. But we really often see that the coordinator wants to be informed more frequently. We really often see it's like a 6 months period. So after each 6 months, you are not reporting to the Commission, but you are reporting to the coordinator. And the level of detail very much depends on your agreement and what the coordinator wants. Really often they want, let's say, the same level of detail as the Commission. Sometimes it's less heavy. So it really depends. But you can expect that each 6 months, the coordinator would request from you some information concerning the internal reporting about the progress. Plus, you will meet with other partners based on your role differently on different online meetings and other meetings that you will agree on. This is basically, in a nutshell, what's happening during the life cycle, what are roles of partners and coordinator. And I'm happy to stay here and reply to your specific questions.
Thank you, Lenka. That was very comprehensive. We also had a lot of questions, and as opposed to other webinars, I feel less confident answering them all. So there are quite a lot of those in the Q&As where I marked for answering live, and they are long and complex. So Lenka, if you could open the Q&As where I'm reading them from the top down. Some of them I think are repetitive, but let's see how it goes. Okay. So we had the first one from Joanna Mastalerek. In the case of amendments, for example, where the budget is redistributed and a beneficiary receives additional funding, I understand that this decision is taken at the consortium meeting and requires an amendment signed by the coordinator. However, no institutional approval or signature from the beneficiaries other than the coordinator is required. Is that correct?
It's correct, I'd say, but I'll explain a little bit. When we are talking about the amendments in general, the amendments are in the portal done only by the coordinator on behalf of the consortia. So it's correct. It's done by the coordinator. The other partners are not clicking, signing electronically or whatever. But of course, the decision to do some agreement when it affects some beneficiaries needs to be done in their agreement. So either it's kind of bilateral issue. So for example, there's one partner supposed to do a workshop. However, they decided not to do it and say, okay, other partners should do that workshop and we can transfer money for them doing that job. So it's not a problem. So either they can ask for the amendment or they can easily agree in between themselves that this happens. Commission really wants all the activities being done for that money. And in case there are some changes in between, it's up to the consortia, request the amendment or just decide in between themselves. In case it's in the grant agreement, of course, it's more kind of legally binding. But in case you do it like in between two partners discussion based on the consortia agreement principles, then it's legally binding for you as well. Of course, it's easier when it's just in between two partners. If it's affecting more partners, then it's all the time has to be based on the agreement of the whole consortium board, maybe even General Assembly, depending on your agreement in the consortia agreement. And then it's already wise to maybe have it in the grant agreement amendment. Yeah.
I just want to clarify because I think that there was a little bit of a misunderstanding if in your presentation you were referring to the lump sum projects or not, the diagram that you showed, that was a question that we also had.
Which one do you think? No, I'm not.
No. When you discussed all the process, the question was, is it about the lump sum projects or normal projects?
It was about, everything was about both projects, lump sum and actual cost. And I tried, there were differences I tried to explain. So basically there are differences during the reporting that for actual cost grants, you have to fill in the financial statement with all the cost incurred, which is not being done for lump sum grants because it's not relevant actual cost anymore. So that was one of the differences. Then again, on the slide dealing with audits, financial audits are only relevant for actual cost grants. There are no financial audits, no certificate on financial statement for the lump sum grants. These are basically the differences. And also when you are talking about the length of the reporting periods, you basically, for lump sum grants, you agree with the consortium already at the start of the project, and then Commission very often accept it. For actual cost grants, it's not so important at the start. So really often you just leave this decision before the signature of the grant agreement. These are the basic differences that it crossed my mind, but otherwise everything is the same for both schemes.
So actually, the question here was about the audit. So we know that audit is not obligatory at the end of the lump sum for the lump sum project. The question was, do the beneficiaries need to keep timesheets or any type of financial information even under the lump sum?
No, not for the granting authority. It depends on their usual practice. So, of course, if it's your usual practice to have timesheets normally, which I think it's not the case for Canadian institutions, but no, because Commission, European Court of Auditors, or any other authority dealing with audits are not coming to you because there is no financial audit being checked. There only could be a technical audit checking that you really implemented the task, that you delivered publication, prototyping, or whatever. But no control of timesheets, which means you do not need to have timesheets in case it's not your usual practice.
So now I have a question. The next question was about, I mean, that this is really several questions about the researchers and their cost. So one is about the concept of remission from teaching, which is very, I would say, important in Canada. Is it an eligible cost?
Probably you have to explain to me what does it mean, remission of teaching, but basically you can have as an eligible cost only those that are supported by the timesheet and in the time for actual cost grants. And in the timesheets, you can just put only days or hours of activities really worked on the project, so which is not a teaching.
Yeah,
so
research activities.
So really the research activities. So in case there is a researcher and mandatory has to have 40% of his full-time equivalent for teaching, it means that only 60% of the rest of the capacity can be devoted to the project. Only these hours can be included in the timesheets or the declaration of days worked and can be considered eligible in the project.
Yes.
In lump sum projects is different. Nobody is taking care. You will just assume this amount of money I need for personal. Evaluators would say it's appropriate, and it's written in the grant agreement that if you deliver such and such activities, you will receive such and such amount of money. And nobody's checking then timesheets, teaching, whatever. So then it's up to you.
This is, I think, a main difference between the European approach to research and teaching. I have never met, at least in the continental Europe, the concept of remission. You just keep on teaching and keep on doing research in a way, in the same time. But also we have to be clear that there are institutions in Europe that do only research. So the researchers do not really teach.
Yes.
They only do research, and then they can work full-time on Horizon.
Full-time on the project, yeah.
Yes. And this is the main difference, I would say, as well. You can basically live as a researcher.
Yes, that's possible. Even for the universities, if you're doing a teaching, it's not mandatory all the time that you have to keep with the teaching. You can just stop doing teaching, be full-time on the project, and then you can continue after 2 years again with the teaching. So there is this flexibility, really depending on the institution.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Lenka. So, related, what if researchers are over or under budget? Do they need to return funds, or could they ask for more?
That's a nice question. Basically, Commission wants you as a consortia to do the job with the money Commission can give to you, which is signed in the grant agreement. What is happening in this pocket? It's very flexible. So, talking in sense of the whole consortia, you will never get more money. Never. You just have to deliver what you promised with the amount of money you have. In case there are some troubles, you can negotiate some amendment of the grant agreement saying that you a little bit change what you promised to do, etc. but you never get more money, never. When we are talking about the institution, of course, what is happening very often, that one institution is underspending, one is overspending. And that's not a problem to transfer the money in between the institutions. Also, inside your institution, that's not a problem to shift the money from one cost category to another cost category. So in case, for example, you say, I need more money for people, for personal cost. However, I was able to save some money on traveling. So you can shift this money saved on traveling to the personal cost. We normally see shift in person months like plus minus 15-20%, and it's not a problem. If it's more, then usually Commission is asking, why do you need more than that concerning the person months? And you have to explain, okay, because I had more junior researchers, so it happened to me that I was managed to do the same work, but with just senior having charge and just controlling them, but then more junior researchers did that. So we spent more person months, but we spent the amount of money that you gave to us. So there is the flexibility. But for the whole consortia, you will never get more money.
Very good. Thank you. So I have a question, smaller ones here. One pertains to your presentation. What does the 5% MIM refer to? On your
I'll
slide.
reply that. And it also crossed my mind to the previous question. I was talking about the situation if you request more. But also can happen the situation if you as a consortia request less. It means that for the actual cost grants, you just didn't prove the cost and didn't spend the whole amount of money, which is pretty okay for the Commission. They don't care. They don't push you to spend the whole amount of money. If you just prove that you did a job with half of the cost, perfectly okay.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
then you
also,
have to give it back, right?
and it also can happen that you got the pre-financing 80%. So then it could also happen that they ask you to give it back. But believe me, usually the researchers can spend the money. But it's also important to say that, yeah, you have to have backed all the activities by the cost incurred. And this is again talking about the actual cost grants, talking about the lump sum. Nobody cares about the real cost. If the work is being done, you can get the negotiated amount of money. And let's now go to 5% of MIM, your nice audience. You have good eyes. It was on the slide when I was talking about the pre-financing amount. And there was written a green part that 5% of that goes to MIM. MIM is Mutual Insurance Mechanism. And at the start, I said that you'll get pre-financing when it's 1 or 2 reporting periods, 80%. But technically, you won't get the whole amount of 80%. Still 5% of the grant amount does not go directly to the consortia at the start of the project, but it goes to the mutual insurance mechanism. It's a mechanism that set up the Commission in the past, because, as we said, there is no financial responsibility of all the partners. And sometimes it's actually not so seldom happens that some beneficiaries, for example, go bankrupt, or they are just leaving the project without delivering and without paying the money back. And it just can happen. And in the past, all the consortia had to deal with that, and they had the financial responsibility. And then the Commission said, no, that's not the way how it could be. But still, in case this happens, somebody has to repay the money that are lost. So Commission got the idea that from each grant, this 5% goes to a European bank, and it's called Mutual Insurance Mechanism. And this amount of money generates interest. And you can imagine it's a huge amount of money. So even the interest is huge amount of money. And this interest that exists there, the amount of money, is used by the Commission to cover this situation. So anytime there is some bankruptcy or money lost in the consortia, the coordinator has to immediately inform the Commission, and they will cover this situation from this money at the mutual insurance mechanism. So you don't lose this money, but Commission will repay this money at the end of the project. So very theoretically, you don't get at the start 80%, you'll just get less.
75?
5%. Yeah.
75. Okay, this is then clear.
It's not exactly 75 because I mean, theoretically it is. Okay. Yeah.
Practically, let's.
Yeah, it is. So at the end, you will get back, let's say, this 10% of retention plus 5% from this mutual insurance mechanism. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. So another question is, are audit expenses eligible expenses reimbursed by the grant?
There are two kinds of audits. First of them, I call the certificate on financial statement. That's the one that is mandatory in case you have a grant higher than 430,000 euros. And that is done by auditor of your choice. So cost of these audits are eligible cost. So it is eligible. So you can plan it based on our usual practice. We normally see like 8, 9, 10,000 euro in the budget for these certificates on financial statements. So it's eligible cost. It's mandatory requested, so it's eligible. Concerning the cost, when the auditors come from the European Commission, the so-called second level audit that can come to you anytime during the project implementation or 2 years after the payment of the balance, then the cost of these audits are not eligible cost. So it's the time that you will give to the auditors, which is some time, of course. It cannot be covered by the project. Just for you to have an idea, a Commission has intention in the past, they presented somewhere, to check 7% of beneficiaries. So it's not like total chance that the financial audit will come to you. Honestly, I'm not so sure they like to travel. Maybe some of them would like to have a visit to Canada, but I don't expect like huge amount of financial audits in your institutions. But normally it really works that it's not like that Commission picks who will be audited. It's audited either really like problematic issues when they see there are some problems, or where there were problems in the past. And then it really depends. It's by chance. They are just throwing from the box who can get the audit. So, yeah. But don't worry. It's not that all of you will be audited. That's not the case.
So, yeah, this actually ties up to the question about the second level audits for the lump sum grants that we had here. So, yeah, that there is always a possibility too. And I think we are down to 2 questions. Really, because we need to really finish now. So I want to ask, why do you recommend a fixed date for the grant start date?
I recommend it. Oh yeah, I recommend it because the other option is the first day after the signature of coordinator and the European Commission. And okay, the coordinator can sign it whenever you need it, but you never need how much time does the Commission need to sign. So it really sometimes happens that you really need to start already and the Commission signs the next month. So, and the eligible cost can be only from the date after the start date of the project. So if you really fix the date in the in the grant agreement, then you are clear, you know which is the first day when all the costs can be eligible. However, when you wait, you never know when the Commission signs, and especially when there is the end of the month. So yeah, it sometimes takes the time. And what happens in case there's the fixed date, it also can happen when it takes Commission some time to sign the grant agreement. It is also retroactively effective. So in case there is a fixed date, you are just on the safe side with the eligibility of costs.
Yes. So, and the last question is about the exchange rate, and we can answer it live, but I will also paste the link. So, Lenka, you answer about how to report the exchange rate and how to apply it.
Concerning the exchange rate, again, it's relevant only for actual cost grants, not for the lump sum, because nobody cares about the actual cost. So in the actual cost grants, there is mandatory to use the average exchange rate of the European Central Bank, which is nicely in the rules. There is a nice link. You can just put there the first day of the reporting period, the last day of the reporting period, and then you have the average exchange rate. So what you have to do, you have to first do the accountancy based on your usual practices. So normally when you have any cost, you have it in your national currency. So even if you have there some cost in euros from going to the hotel in Europe, you pay and have invoice in euros, you have to put it into your accountancy based on your usual practice to your national currency. And then after the end of reporting period, you have to take all the cost in your national currency, you have to sum it up and use the exchange rate for the average whole reporting period of European Central Bank to fill in the financial statement for the European Commission.
So I provided the link. It's the Info Euro, and where you can see the links and all the information. What is it that you have to use? I wanted to ask Lenka, because this is something we forget about. You know that in Canada, many services like hotels and services basically have the tax, which is not the VAT. How do we report on that? Is the tax an eligible cost in the budget? The Canadian VAT.
The Canadian VAT. Concerning the VAT, it depends whether it's refundable or not, which makes it either eligible or not, depending if you can ask any authority to repay you back or not. So it depends of the type of institution normally. So if you cannot ask to refund it back from other authority, so you avoid the double funding. So then normally you can ask it as an eligible cost.
Something also, I think that if we have doubts, we could ask the Canadian Secretariat, because they should have answers to that as well. Probably they know better about the taxation.
They can do it for specific taxes. Feel free to do it also. And also, anytime you have any questions, feel free to ask the project officer, explain the situation. So use your coordinator and ask the coordinator to ask the European Commission that you have some special taxes and explain the nature of the taxes and whether it could be eligible or not. Very often it's that in case there is no risk of double funding and it's usual practice, mandatory, even based on the national legislation, that usually it is eligible. But yeah, it's better to check it when it's national specific. Yeah.
Thank you, Lenka. Okay, so we don't have any other questions. We answered 42 altogether. Thank you very much, Joshua, Lenka, for this. I would like to ask then Kostas to close this webinar, and remember everyone to fill in the survey. I put the link there again.
I promise
Thank you
to
for
you.
inviting me and good luck with the project. Sorry, Kostas.
Thank you, Lenka. And actually, first of all, I would like to thank all the speakers, and especially you, Lenka, with the wisdom that you share with us and the expertise. I think it's very, very useful. And of course, a promise to Agnieszka that we will fill the survey. So many thanks for this very, very useful webinar. I have learned also a lot of things. I would like to say that we continue this effort together. We will have another webinar in March on the 18th or the 19th. We will come back to you to confirm on evaluations. I think that will be also another interesting webinar. But before that, as we told you in the previous webinar, we are planning our roadshow around Canada. I can tell you already that it will be during the week of 9th of March. And it is nearly confirmed that we will start from Quebec City, then we will go to Winnipeg, and then we will go also to Waterloo. More confirmation and more information will be shared with you very soon. We'll be happy also to announce that perhaps later in April we will go to the Maritimes. So we continue the effort together. We see the results that are there, and I'm very, very happy to close today's webinar. Thank you very much to all.